Okay, everyone, thanks for sticking with me thus far. So, the point I was just trying to make at the end of the second video is that we're only comparing the recordings from 41 or 42, whichever year it was, to each other. So, yeah, by doing so, I think we can all agree that William Brown, apparently from Arkansas, is a totally different guy from Willie Brown. Okay, so. Next, I want to continue reading some points that I put in later after the initial post went through on this country blues forum. Nothing I had did but something she had heard in Mississippi Bottom Blues does indeed have some of the gruff and coarse quality in it. So, when I mentioned before that Mississippi Bottom Blues features only the soft, angelic, delicate, sweet vocals and nothing coarse or rough. That wasn't completely accurate because nothing I had did but something she had heard upon my second listen to Mississippi Bottom Blues revealed that that verse does have a little bit of a coarseness to it, but nothing like what you hear on Rowdy Blues, and certainly nothing like what you hear on Future and M&O Blues, with an asterisk because of the crackling and the surface noise, which we're going to get to in a bit. All right, I assume it's been mentioned elsewhere, and in and of itself it's not proof of anything, but Mississippi Bottom Blues contains a variant of the Poor Mother's Getting Old line that Charlie Patton had recorded the previous year in Screamin' and Hollerin' the Blues. Put bluntly, well, Brown is Bailey is my point. Yes, but this is a tertiary fact. It doesn't prove anything because, as you know, there were floating verses in blues and in old jazz. And even if something wasn't quite a floating verse, there might have been a certain pool, a certain group of musicians who shared certain lyrics. So, anyway, to move past that, let me continue. I appreciate this was to someone on the blues forum, so I'm just reading verbatim from my responses. All right. Okay, it might sound off topic, but I think that a classically trained musician who sits down and listens to, let's say, old Caruso recordings and those of his peers, or just any popular singers of the 1920s who were classically trained, could be of help to us old blues fans. In other words, someone who's a classically trained, let's say, opera singer, listening to opera singers who recorded in the 20s and doing so regularly, listening to them regularly, such a person might be able to help us out when it comes to matching so-called, well, not unknown blues vocalists, but might be able to help us out in this situation without sounding too wordy. Sorry. Sounds a bit out of left field, but maybe such a person could help us out provided he or she is willing to first dive deep into listening to the so-called standard country blues essentials in order to acclimate his or her ears to the genre. So you wouldn't want to say to someone who knows all these old opera songs and has wonderful ears and can sing himself or herself, you wouldn't want to say to them on first listen, hey, you've never heard blues before, but do you think this Bailey guy is the same vocalist as this Brown guy? But if that person spends, let's say, 3 months and they're coming from an opera background and they know their stuff, I think it wouldn't be such a bad idea. Anyway, so I then asked people who sort of responded to me on the forum, did you, and I should ask you guys and gals as well who are listening now, because there's a lot more of you, did you go 50 seconds into Rowdy Blues and then listen to the remaining verses of Rowdy Blues and then quickly jump to listening to M&O and Future Blues? If you do so, I think you'll come to the same conclusion that I did.